Welcome to Headline News. This is Maria Han. U.S. senators co-sign a request to keep Huawei on Blacklist. On January 29th, several Republican senators urged Gina Raimondo, the nominee for Commerce Secretary, to take a position on whether to keep Huawei on the trade blacklist. Raimondo recently attended a Senate appointment hearing where she refused to commit to continuing blacklisting Huawei, saying she would review the policy and consult with allies and evaluate the aspects most suitable for U.S. national and economic security. Three Republican senators, Mark Rubio, Ben Sasse, and Tom Cotton, issued a joint letter Friday asking Raimondo to make her position clear. We ask that you respond in writing with your view of whether you foresee any scenario in which you, if confirmed as secretary, either remove Huawei or its subsidiaries or spin-off companies from the entity list, or would permit any relaxation of the foreign direct product rule as it relates to 5G technology. White House spokesperson Jen Psaki said at a regular press conference the day before that Huawei remains an untrusted vendor and that the U.S. will ensure that its own and allied communications networks do not use equipment from these vendors and invest in trusted U.S. and allied companies so they can expand production. The joint letter from the three Republican senators expressed concern about Psaki's stance, stating, "It is equally imperative that all nominees to the Department of Commerce recognizing both the dangers of the CCP and the need to obstruct or squeeze PRC access to U.S. technology that may advance CCP ambitions that are dangerous to U.S. interests, and that the United States must prevent the CCP from continuing to steal advanced U.S. technology." The senators added, "If these nominees do not make clear that they will adhere to these broad concerns and objectives, they may face substantial opposition from Congress." In addition, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said today that Washington needed to speak with clarity and consistency on the issues such as Xinjiang and Hong Kong, as well as Taiwan. He said it needed to be prepared to act, as well to impose costs, for what China is doing in Xinjiang, what it's doing in Hong Kong, for the bellicosity and threats it is projecting towards Taiwan. Sullivan stressed that the United States believes that standing shoulder to shoulder with its democratic allies will more effectively advance the vision of a free, prosperous, and fair society, and will rally the voices of the people to address China's actions. U.S. carrier group entered South China Sea after provoked by CCP military aircrafts. Only 3 days after U.S. President Joe Biden took office, a large force of the CCP's military aircraft flew into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone. The Chinese aircraft also simulated an attack on the U.S. Navy aircraft. This week, the CCP continued to send military aircraft over the South China Sea to provoke the U.S. carrier group. The U.S. military responded on January 29th, interpreting Beijing's moves as a pattern of destabilizing and aggressive behavior. U.S. Indo-Pacific Command spokesperson U.S. Navy Captain Mike Kafka said in a statement, "The Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group closely monitored all People's Liberation Army plan and Air Force activity, and at no time did they pose a threat to U.S. Navy ships, aircraft, or sailors." The statement added, "The United States will continue to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows, demonstrating resolve through our operational presence throughout the region. Our operations are a continued demonstration of our willingness to support a free and open Indo-Pacific for all nations under international law." Kafka noted that the CCP's military activities at the South Sea is just the latest in a series of aggressive and destabilizing actions. He said, "These actions reflect a continued PLA attempt to use its military as a tool to intimidate or coerce those operating in international waters and airspace, to include their neighbors and those with competing territorial claims." Taiwan's Defense Ministry denounced the CCP for sending 13 aircrafts to Taiwan's southwestern Air Defense Identification Zone on January 23rd. The CCP sent 15 aircrafts to the same area the next day. A U.S. official speaking on condition of anonymity revealed that the CCP conducted a simulated targeting and release of anti-ship missiles against the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Group. But it did not come within 250 nautical miles from the U.S. vessels. In response, the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command ordered the U.S. carrier group to sail into the South China Sea on January 23rd. According to ship tracking data, the carrier passed through the Bashi Channel. The U.S. said the carrier's move was to ensure freedom of navigation and to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity. The U.S. Department of State also responded to the CCP's provocation with a statement that said, "We will continue to assist Taiwan in maintaining a sufficient self-defense capability. Our commitment to Taiwan is rock solid and contributes to the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and within the region. We urge Beijing to cease its military, diplomatic, and economic pressure against Taiwan and instead engage in meaningful dialogue with Taiwan's democratically elected representatives." In recent years, the CCP has frequently launched military operations in the rich waters of the South China Sea and established military posts on artificial islands in the waters, which often cause disputes with Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam. The U.S. government has consistently accused the CCP for not keeping its promises. The CCP continued to militarize the South China Sea and intimidate its Asian neighbors. After Xi Jinping, Wang Qishan also calls on Biden to focus on cooperation. On January 25th, Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping called on world leaders to strengthen cooperation, which was interpreted as a command to new U.S. President Joe Biden. On January 29th, Chinese Vice Chairman Wang Qishan also underscored during a meeting with U.S. and Chinese business leaders, saying that mutual respect and cooperation to promote a healthy and stable development of bilateral relations is important for Sino-U.S. relations. Wang Qishan met with U.S. representatives at the 12th China-U.S. CEO and former senior officials dialogue in Beijing on January 29th through video conference. Although Wang Qishan has a financial background and experience in negotiating with the United States, he has been inactive in the previous U.S.-China trade war. The fact that he has broke his silence to speak out this time was interpreted as a sign that the Chinese Communist Party was eager to have a good relationship with Washington. Wang Qishan said at the meeting that China and the United States should maintain the spirit of non-conflict, non-confrontation, adding that China and the United States have more than 40 years of diplomatic relations. Despite there being friction, disputes, and differences, there was also a demonstration of complementary advantages, mutual benefits, and win-win results since China and the United States established diplomatic ties. Since Biden's inauguration as American president on January 20th, top Chinese Communist Party officials have been sending invitations to Biden one after another, sending signals to Biden to strengthen dialogue and cooperation and rebuild U.S.-China relations. In a video message delivered at the World Economic Forum on January 25th, Xi mentioned that multilateralism is about having international affairs addressed through consultation and the future of the world decided by everyone working together. To build small circles or start a new Cold War, to reject, threaten, or intimidate others, to willfully impose decoupling, supply disruption or sanctions, and to create isolation or estrangement will only push the world into division and even confrontation. He also said that history and reality have made it clear, time and again, that the misguided approach of antagonism and confrontation, be it in the form of Cold War, hot war, trade war, or tech war, would eventually hurt all countries' interests and undermine everyone's well-being. These words are seen as a command to the Biden administration to let the U.S. government to allow the Chinese Communist Party to penetrate and expand globally. On January 26th and 27th, CCP ambassador to the U.S., Cui Tiankai, also spoke with force to the Biden administration for 2 consecutive days. He said cooperation is the only right option for the two sides. On January 28th, Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Le Yucheng also publicly called for U.S.-China cooperation and said the two countries are not destined to fall into a trap. For its part, the Biden administration only responded briefly on January 28th by White House spokeswoman Psaki, saying Biden will approach the U.S.-China relationship with patience. However, it is worth noting that Biden has overturned a series of Trump administration policies including orders related to the Chinese Communist Party, banning the federal government from saying China virus, postponing the ban on investment in CCP military companies, and removing the China threat and 5G security from the U.S. State Department website. And for the recent frequent harassment of Taiwan by the Chinese Communist Party, Biden also did not respond, but said to adopt a policy of strategic patience. According to external analysis, this means that the Biden administration has been slowly opening up a renewed policy of appeasement towards the Chinese Communist Party. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.